Hello, I'm Dr Louise Wilson and I'm a senior lecturer in English literature here at Liverpool Hope University. Some of my research and teaching interests are in the history of the book and the history of reading, and I use Liverpool Hope's special collections in a lot of my undergraduate and postgraduate teaching. So today I'm going to talk in particular about the books in front of me, the Kelmscott Press books of William Morris, and say a little bit about why I think they're so special and so valuable to the work that we do on the history of the book here. The history of the book is a field of study in humanities that pays attention to publication, and particularly to the book as a physical object, its design and its making, in order to think about what effect that has on the interpretation of texts for us as readers. So when we're here in special collections, whether we're studying publishing history, whether we're studying the business of books, whether we're thinking about archival research and the importance that that has for English literature, it's really good to be able to get our hands on these incredible items and to be able to get up really close to them and to think about their physical making and the effects that has for us as readers. William Morris founded the Kelmscott Press in 1891 in order to put into practice his socialist principles. He was interested in creating books where the emphasis was placed on the labour, the materials, and the processes of making. These stood in direct contrast with the mass-produced books that were flooding the market in England at that time after the Industrial Revolution, and which Morris felt were divorced from human labour and no longer sort of carried the status of art. So he looks back to the Middle Ages, a time when he feels the craft of bookmaking was at its height, and he adopts quite a few details from medieval manuscripts, which he then reproduces in print with the Kelmscott Press. So if we look at a medieval manuscript that we have out from our collection here, what you will see is a highly decorated border, lots of leaves and scrolls, a very small amount of calligraphy, handwriting on the page, illuminated initials, and a general sort of avoidance of white space. So Morris takes all of those features of the medieval page and reproduces them in these very finely crafted books. So we're very lucky to have 18 of the 53 books that Morris produced with the Kelmscott Press between 1891 and 1896 here in our special collections. And we're very privileged that we are able to handle these books. There are no restrictions on how we use them, whether we're undergraduates, postgraduates, or researchers. So the real pleasure with these books is to get our hands on them just as William Morris intended we should. One book that's a real favourite, not just of mine but also with the students, is this particular Kelmscott edition, which is of Jacobus de Voragine's The Golden Legend, a series of medieval saints' lives. And the reason that this book is so much fun to think with is that it contains a little note here in the front, written by William Morris himself to the book binders and the people who were going to put this book together once it came off the press. And what Morris tells them here is that if this book be bound, the edges of the leaves should only be trimmed, not cut, and he puts trimmed in big capital letters there to make it very clear that this is his instruction. In no case should the book be pressed, as that would destroy the impression of the type and thus injure the appearance of the printing. So this is an extremely tactile book, and Morris is really, I think, here inviting us to understand the materials and the labour that has gone into creating it. So you can see here that I think the book makers have pretty much followed his instructions, and the ends of the pages remain untrimmed. As you can see there, they're extremely uneven. Not uniform at all, so very unlike the kind of carefully sort of cut and uniformly shaped books that would come off a kind of mechanised printing press at this time. You'll even see that many of the pages here have not even been cut at all, so it sort of remains intact as it came from the bookmaker. But what's also particularly nice about this particular edition is that it hasn't been pressed. So again, books would normally be kind of rolled in order to make their pages extremely flat so that they could be sort of take up the minimal amount of space. Here, if you run your fingers down the type, you can feel very clearly where it has bitten into the paper. You can feel the impression of that press sort of pressing the ink hard down into this handmade paper. So we probably wouldn't encourage students to put their fingers all over many of the books in our collection, but these ones, I think, invite and reward a very particular kind of hands-on engagement. So we do spend quite a lot of time thinking through the sort of the social and philosophical reasons that lie behind these instructions, to feel the book beneath your fingers and know why it's been made in the way that it has. So we've changed the lighting here so that I can show you one final thing that we enjoy looking at. I'm here in front of William Morris's magisterial collected works of Chaucer, which is regarded as the most important book that he produced from the Kelmscott Press, and is a real landmark in European publishing history, as well as studying the very rich ornamentation produced by William Morris and his friend Edward Burne-Jones, who created the illustrations. What's also really fascinating to look at with these books is the way that the handmade paper has been created, and Morris commissioned paper makers to make this special paper in similar ways to medieval and early modern paper making techniques, and he has 3 special watermarks that are put in this paper. So this is a particular one that is a perch, a fish that was common to the river next to Kelmscott Manor, and you also see his initials WM here. So it's a nice little reveal when we use our light sheet to be able to look at all of the tiny details that have gone into creating this very special book.